And what about privacy? HIPAA.
The other big word that we're all worried about.
Yeah. Well, there are more things that people are concerned about that they would like us to talk about too. So, what about privacy and HIPAA in terms of prompts and outputs? The breaches that have already happened. Somebody mentioned Samsung. Any response to that? Do we know enough about it yet?
I was just going to say, I mean, obviously, no sort of protected information should ever be entered into these systems right now. I mean, just that seems like basic, but it bears saying. And I also feel like nothing confidential about the work you're doing in your organization should be in there because we just don't know what's going to happen to it. So, as communicators, we're often working on things that are really brand sensitive or audience sensitive, and that stuff should just not be entered into any of these tools right now. It's just we don't have a feeling for safety. So I think high caution it's got to be exercised, the highest degree of caution right now.
I mean, oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. I'll be quick. Yeah, I've been shocked by the things that have made it into these approaches. So I tell everyone to think of a rule of thumb, like if you wouldn't say it public on Facebook or Twitter, then it probably shouldn't go. If it's something that you value any kind of privacy for, know that it will be used in a data set whenever you place it there, and know that there could be some significant consequences for the types of stuff that you're putting there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think what's happening with the Office of Civil Rights and HIPAA is really instructive. I think that, HIPAA is a complex law that was written a really long time ago. And for them to come back now and sort of wake up and be like, oh, every URL is protected and you guys can't track your data. And, it's kind of sort of like, thanks for coming really late to our party and shutting it down. And now I'm happy to see the American Hospital Association, no dig on them, but they finally released, pressure as a lobbyist organization to say to OCR, what's up? So I'm happy to see that those things are happening. But back to Chris Pace's point, what do patients want? Do patients want to be able to go to their portals and see what's going on and have their privacy protected? Do they want to know that this information isn't being shared if it's useful to the hospital or the healthcare organization to serve them better? I think that that's what's really interesting about this. And, people will put TikToks on of the weirdest, most intimate things that they have, but OCR has decided that their URL needs to be protected when they go to a blog about how do I get my kid to eat broccoli. So that's kind of where I think the government is just so behind what this technology really is. I always think about, that scene where the senator said to Zuckerberg, I think it was Hatch, he said to Zuckerberg, how does Facebook make money? And Zuckerberg's face, like the entire shock and horror of the American public was like, we sell ads, Senator. So that's the whole privacy question is just, it's like dinosaurs trying to legislate AI. It doesn't really make any sense. And so I think, and then the First Amendment comes into play. And so we have a lot of really complex things to sort out. But here's what I'll say about that. Hospitals and health systems themselves struggle with workflow and process and getting everyone to follow that. Now you're going to go try to train an LLM to handle that stuff. There's just no way that that's going to work. The processes aren't even documented and they're not even being followed now. So to Chris Pace's point, get your people and your process right first, and then sort of, look at your technology. Let's stop chasing the shiny object and let's get down to brass tacks. How are we going to make sure in our communication offices we have voice and tone documented? We know exactly what a finished product of content needs to be looked at for strict, stringent editorial standards. We stand out in the marketplace. Now that there's all this synthetic content being produced by these LLMs, what are you going to say in the marketplace that's custom? You put something into the chat and it can generate an article for you that sounds like a 1970s prep school boy with a nun for an English teacher wrote. No shade against nuns. But I call it bow tie content. It just sounds ridiculous. It's like 3 clauses and, at least it believes in the Oxford comma. So we'll give it that. But, how are you going to stand out? If you go interview a stakeholder about what's happening in terms of neuroscience or cardiology, you're going to get such fresh, beautiful content at the end. So I think that the privacy question is a really good question, but I think the synthetic content and the process and the procedures question really needs to be the thing that we tackle head on.